What I mean when I call nuclear risky is that I mean it's not a very good investment for modern energy markets.
So my initial intention when I saw this video was not to respond at all. I actually didn't disagree with anything that he said, but a lot of you tagged me and asked for a response. And given the number of requests, I decided, yeah, okay, I'll talk about it. But the key is I can really only talk about the engineering. That's really what I know. And so from an engineering perspective, the way to look at it that I think would make a good analogy would be to think of driving in your car. If we decided that driving your car had to be the safest way to get from one place to another, then we could pass a law that would say you have to design cars from now on that if you roll down a cliff and into a lake, that car has to be designed so safely that anybody that did that could just walk away without a bruise and without a scratch. Now, all right, you could pass a law that would say that, and then we would have to design cars that would do that. But they wouldn't be cheap and they wouldn't come fast because we would have such stringent safety requirements on them that that's the kind of penalty that we would pay for doing that. And nuclear actually is in that realm right there. Right now, the law for a nuclear power plant is if you have a full meltdown, you can't hurt anybody. Nobody can get any kind of a measurable medical effect. You can get a measurable dose, but it's got to be below the limit that you could actually get any kind of statistically significant change at all. In other words, nothing is measurable. And so that requires a lot of safety to make sure that you can't have a measurable medical effect. That's incredible. But it means that you've got nuclear grade everything that goes into a nuclear power plant. And since we haven't been building them, we're not doing it fast. And because we haven't been building a lot of them, we're not able to make them cost effective. Kind of like the car. If we only did a few of those cars, they'd be slow and they'd be expensive. If we did a lot of them, they'd be cheap and we could make them fast. And so nuclear is kind of like that. In fact, the safety metrics for nuclear, if you only look at the observable deaths from an accident, then it's actually one of the safest kinds that are out there, better than solar and wind. If you assume that every tiny little bit of radiation is going to give you a risk, even some small fraction of natural background, then it's still comparable to wind and solar in terms of gigawatt hours per death from an accident or from death of that energy source. And so it's incredibly safe. Despite the hate and fear that it gets, it's incredibly safe. So that's probably the best way that I could textualize my response. He's right. It's not cheap and it is not fast. But it's because we have such incredibly strict safety requirements for them that's where we're left right now because we haven't been building them due to the fear of nuclear. So I hope that helped. I hope it was worth tagging me to get that response. I doubt it's what you wanted to hear, but that would be my